Not long after Resident Evil 4 hit worldwide success, Capcom wasted no time investing their resources and money into another groundbreaking game that they proudly dubbed as the official 5th entry of the Resident Evil series. As usual, I like to rewind and talk about my early experiences with the game before I dive into it. I can remember being freaked out by all of the trailers for Resident Evil 5, especially the demo teaser Machinima posted years ago on YouTube. I was hyped, and as a fan of the series during my childhood, I was eager to see what awaited me inside this game's terrifying story. Hell, they even showed off a new chainsaw guy in the trailers like Dr. Salvador from the 4th game. I was one of the many kids who wanted it to be just as good, if not better than 4. Well, nothing like getting slapped in the face by cold, moist, hard truth. It's not exactly the game everyone thought it would be. If you ask me right now, I'd say I love Resident Evil 5, and even though the story has flaws and whatnot, it was interesting enough for me to finish it. The introduction of Sheva's character was horrendously undermined in my opinion. Her voice delivery and acting is on point, like almost too good for this kind of game. I'm not shitting you, I loved Sheva and her quips. The gameplay, while very similar to the previous game, felt unique in its own way, with tons more guns added to the roster, along with enemies and mutation types. Oddly enough, on PC, there's no laser reticle. I'm forced to use this weird cursor that looks like a symbol from the Nintendo Wii. I'm unsure if there's a way to change it, but if there is, let me know. I prefer the laser sights. This big fucking awkward circle in the middle kinda screws with my aim a lot. Anyways, what else is good about it? Well, it had debatably the greatest version of Albert Wesker to date, in my opinion.
This is Wesker.
We last met at the Spencer estate, wasn't it? Well, isn't this one big family reunion? I would expect you to be happier to see us.
His performance in this game is just fantastic, and not only does he charm you with his confrontational words, but he beats the shit out of you as well. It's like someone fucking your mom and then bullying you for the rest of your life. It sucks. Unfortunately, DC Douglas, the actor who portrayed this Wesker, has had a lot of negative allegations towards him in the past few years, and I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know as the actual character, he did a pretty damn good job. And it sucks because Wesker, at least DC Douglas's Wesker, was so good. It came off so good, but as far to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure he has allegations. If I type in allegation, Douglas tweeted out a quote from a Tower Heist Q&A where director Brent Ratner made a disparaging remark about homosexuals. Okay, I thought that this had something to do with, like, him talking to someone who was like underage. Yeah, he's been accused of predatory behavior. That's what I was gonna say. Oh, that's not a good joke. That's not a good joke. See, I knew that he got in trouble for something like this, but I was wondering, it really sucks because I really respected this guy. I had so much fucking respect and, it's such a goddamn shame. You hate to see it because we look up to these fucking guys. Like, come on, guys, we look up to you. We're looking to you to tell us an epic story and actually give a shit about the character you're portraying. But don't become the person. Like, don't become Albert Wesker, you fucking psycho. What are you doing? It also featured who I think was the best voice actor for Chris Redfield ever, Roger Craig Smith.
Wait, that means Joe might be here.
It won't be easy for him, Wesker.
That won't be a problem. Once he knows we're here, he'll find us.
And how do you know that?
Let's just say we have a history together, and he's not the type to let grudges go.
You must have done something to really piss him off.
It goes a bit beyond just pissing him off.
So, are you going to tell me what happened?
Maybe. But not until after we put an end to all this. Deal?
Okay, but I'm holding you to that.
I was disappointed that they didn't ask for him to return to Resident Evil 7 or Village, but I guess you can't always have the same voice for the same guy. Actually, no, you can. You absolutely can. The graphics also don't look too bad, considering the game came out in 2009. I would still place Resident Evil 5 on a pedestal today if I were asked to. It had a lot to live up to, and this time around we could dive in with a friend to help us out.
A friend?
Yes, Josh, that's right, a friend. You could play through the entire storyline with another online or couch buddy, sort through your own inventories, and buy or sell your own stuff. It was pretty neat to see. The melee combat was also improved from Resident Evil 4, but when I say improved, I mean injected with steroids. You can figure out all sorts of cool choreographed fight moves with Sheva and destroy stronger enemies in a quick flurry of hits. It can be repetitive, but it's still enlightening to see. Depending on the toughness of the enemy you're fighting, there will be different melee combos and attacks. You can uppercut or even snap an enemy's neck, killing them instantly. Ugh. See, these types of things are hard for me to talk about because this is a franchise that I have loved since I was a kid. But, like all good things, it's time to talk about the bad bits. I guess I'll start with the more major complaints about Resident Evil 5. Most of the fans complain because of its overhaul of action-oriented segments taking a huge nosedive into the fucking concrete as compared to its predecessors. Sure, Resident Evil 4 might have influenced the idea of action-packed gameplay, but it was charming in its own right and toned down the action segments often. In 5, it's a whole new idea. It seems so overwhelming with the amount of sheer damage you can cause to your enemies. The weapon compendium isn't shy in the slightest either. There's a few handguns, shotguns, SMGs, assault rifles, and special weapons you can unlock like the infinite Gatling gun and Sheva's longbow. I mean, fuck. A Gatling gun with infinite ammo? Way later on in the story, it becomes even sillier when the enemies begin wielding firearms of their own. Seriously? They can fucking shoot back now? Seems a little cheap. Rather than innovate and make more terrifying enemies with different variations in personality and appearance, let's just have the same guy running and shouting with the same non-threatening voice lines we've heard for 20 goddamn years. The QTE melee combos, while they are pretty cool, they can be silly as well. Seeing Chris beat the shit out of the enemies in this game is awesome, but funny in a way. My favorite is when you curb stomp the fuck out of someone's head. Take that, un forastero. Fucking idiot, just laying on the ground. But it can be overload for some, especially those who grew up with the classics, man. How come the horror element was taken away so fast? Even the chainsaw guy in this game is laughably easy, considering you could just shoot him in the eye and melee him in a never-ending loop until he's dead. And if you die by letting him cut your head off, the game shamelessly cuts away from the decapitation. Not like it matters though, because they apparently thought Resident Evil 4 was far too graphic with its chainsaw death, so they just made the characters spew blood from their necks. How pathetic. What, do they think we're fucking 5 years old or something? And the inventory management is, oh my god, horrible. You get 9 slots in total, and cycling through weapons can be a bit confusing at first. I mean, 9 fucking spaces? That's it? And I always find myself stuffed with shit so I can't pick up anything I actually need. It can be a little frustrating, but if Sheva has a clean inventory, you can move anything you don't need or want into hers and make her the fucking pack mule. Famously enough, there's that scene where Chris quite literally punches a boulder, slams it, and kicks it into place for Sheva to hop across during the final boss fight. It's been referenced to death since the game released, and the meme sparked so high that the devs are in on the joke in the main canon. Sure, it's a little dumb, but I can't lie, this scene has grown on me, and now it's become one of the most badass Chris Redfield moments to date. That's what I mean. Even though the game's story steers itself directly towards a solid brick wall sometimes, it still offers a few really cool plot points to explore. For example, finding out that Jill has been brainwashed and was the hooded woman the entire time was stupid as fuck. But fighting Wesker and listening to his devious dialogue is one of the cooler aspects. Escaping on the boat with Josh is a chore and a huge waste of a chapter, but fighting the enemies on the large ship later on was way more engaging. I especially liked the different mutations you'll face throughout the game, like the weird head whip parasites that kind of sound like rattlesnakes. Or how about these nightmares? They're called Reapers. They're essentially the Novistadors from Resident Evil 4, but high on bath salts and fresh out of the fucking slammer. They can one-tap you if you get too close, so it's best to keep your distance. You can kill them so long as you aim for their white pustules, but you'll have to be spot on to get the damn things to bow down. Apparently a shotgun is like a pellet gun to them. And the story, I can't lie, is pretty cool even with its flaws. Ricardo Irving, who is basically a completely wasted character who contributes nothing to the story besides an annoying boss battle, only has a few minutes of screen time, and the voice actor goes so fucking hard.
Won't you two just die already? You're making me look bad. Who do you think got this entire operation off the ground? Research like this doesn't fund itself, you know. Splendid timing! You two are just in time for the fireworks show. Boom! You say yay. Wow, you two are just on top of everything, aren't you? The balance of the world is changing and you're completely oblivious to it. No one can stop it. Ouroboros is about to change everything we've ever come to know. Chris! You're Chris!
What's so funny? How do you know about me?
All your answers are wait ahead, Chris. In that cave. If you can survive long enough to get them... Italian's not so bad, but it's not gonna change anything. You're still screwed!
We're wasting time here.
Chris!
You could tell he was trying his best with what he had to work with, but now it just comes off as redundant and cringe. This game also had a pretty decent amount of bosses and sub-bosses. The JJ ripoffs, the Reapers, the Chainsaw Guys, the Big Tribesmen, the fucking alligators for Christ's sakes. Not to mention, in my opinion, the greatest interpretation of Albert Wesker ever portrayed in a Resident Evil game. Say what you will about DC Douglas, it's a fucked up situation all around, but I'm not gonna lie, his voice acting in this game is superb, and it just matches so well. The dialogue is pretty neat too. When Chris talks about Wesker in the past, I wish Sheva had conversed more throughout the story about Chris and his missions during his STARS member escapade. It would have added more flair for me if they actually engaged with each other during the downtime you have. They mostly talk about the mission, which I understand, but like, come on, they can't shoot the shit a couple of times? One huge plus was how complex and puzzling its treasure locations were in some parts of the game. Most of the smaller valued gems are in plain sight, but even a veteran like me knows where to find the best trillions and diamonds. I like upgrading different guns all the way and unlocking infinite ammo, but if you play the game like this long enough, you're gonna get bored very fast. I almost never play with infinite ammo, mainly because it becomes a walking simulator at that point. You're unstoppable. The guns, like I said, range from a wide variety. Sure, there's mainly 2 or 3 guns in each class of weapon, but they're all unique and powerful in their own ways. Some new guns can even be unlocked after upgrading the base gun completely, like for example if you upgrade the Ithaca, that will allow you to unlock the Hydra. You also unlock the infinite rocket launcher upon completing the game, so hey, that's fucking awesome. Doesn't make much sense logically, but it's that much more fun to experiment with, so hey, I can't complain. The graphics do still hold up, as I stated. Things like this are just icing on the cake, as you guys know that graphics don't matter to me so long as the game plays well and has a compelling story. It works in this game's favor. The cinematic moments are a bit repetitive with QTEs to interrupt the player's relaxation for whatever reason, but it's these innovative things you don't see repeated in games too often nowadays. So long as it isn't repetitive, I can defend cutscenes like this. My favorite cutscene is when Chris and Sheva finally get some good teamwork in when fighting Wesker on his ship. And let's not forget that famous Wesker quote that sent chills down everybody's spine.
Ouroboros will be released into the atmosphere, ensuring complete global
Saturation. Oh, God, that would fucking hurt.
Your feeble attempts only delay the inevitable.
It's an intense scene and surprised me with an emotional moment when Sheva is about to die and Chris starts seeing Jill in his memory. Oh man, I fucking love that scene. He doesn't want to relive the past. He doesn't want to relive the same loss he felt before. So he heroically does the only thing he can do. Then, just when you think it's all over, it's never over. Just ask Wesker.
Over. I'm just getting started.
This final boss was pretty wild when I was a kid. Thinking of the reputation that preceded Albert Wesker throughout the Resident Evil timeline, I couldn't believe we were actually standing here fighting him. This man is one of the most powerful and criminally insane characters ever developed, proving that power truly corrupts the host when it has grown to this size and scale. He's menacing, charming, and horrible. and he dies after slipping in some lava. I need to discuss this because this is where a majority of the fanbase completely shat all over Resident Evil 5 in particular. First of all, the idea of anybody in the Resident Evil series killing off one of the most famous and threatening villains such as Albert Wesker is completely silly, but it's not impossible. In my opinion, I'd say this was a definitive death for Wesker. Lava consumes literally fucking everything, so it's not exactly unbelievable. Lots of other fans argue against this claim, saying he could have just as easily escaped the lava pits using his brute strength, or the fact that he's somewhat invincible and lacks a proper known weakness, besides injecting him with his own power too often, I guess. Others say that the rocket launcher QTE was ridiculous as well, considering you can hit Wesker with an RPG literally 5 minutes before this segment, blow it up, and he just kneels. Doesn't make much sense, but hey, I'd like to think the cutscenes tell the story and the gameplay pushes it along, so I'm fine with that. Also, I read a comment a long time ago that stated it should have been Jill and Chris launching the RPGs. I totally agree, but I'm glad it was Sheva because I feel like she was superbly undermined within the universe. It sucks because I wouldn't be against her returning to the series, but I don't think they're gonna. Honestly, the same goes for Wesker. I'm sure they could figure out some weird nonsensical shit to bring him back, or at least have a variant of him using his DNA. I mean, Jake Mueller is still alive. Are we gonna see him again? He's Albert Wesker's fucking son, for crying out loud. Still though, it would be kinda cool to see him again in some form, maybe with a DC Douglas sound-alike, or even a new interpretation. The possibilities are endless when it comes to Resident Evil, and I'm honestly glad I was able to cover the 5th game. While it may be difficult to accept this as an official entry in the Resident Evil series, I still find it passable as a Resident Evil game. The 4th one was fantastic and offered a fresh idea on survival horror, while the 5th one offers a somewhat fresh idea with new combat mechanics, graphics, and some scary interactions of their own. A while back I made a Dead Space 3 video going in depth about the game itself, and I stated that the 3rd Dead Space game was very much like Resident Evil 5, but in space. They're both co-op, they're both constantly argued over, and they're both legendary games from the library of our adolescence that will forever be praised as the greatest of all time. Sure, it has a few fucked up moments and plot holes, but I genuinely can't find myself hating Resident Evil 5. As strange as the game is overall, it's the best co-op experience I had growing up, and playing it again after all this time has shown me that it still hits that spark. Thanks again for watching, guys. Next up, you already know what's coming. A full-length review of my thoughts and feelings about the Resident Evil 4 remake. It's only a few days away now, and I hope you're all looking forward to it as I am. It has a lot to live up to, but from everything I've seen, it's looking as delicious as a fucking shrimp scampi on a Saturday. Keep an eye out for my other indie game reviews as well. Those will be coming out soon. The first big one I want to talk about is Signalis. I'll see you guys next time, and thanks again. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to our channel, and thanks for checking out this video. Leave a like, comment, and since we're on the subject, enjoy yourself. Thanks for watching the content, folks.